Okay, we are live.
We are live. Awesome. So, for everyone joining us, welcome. If you want to drop in the comments where we can see you, where you're joining us from, that would be fantastic. So we can get an idea of who is here. So,
Yes.
as you join, you want to drop in the comment section where you're joining us from. That would be great. It's hard on our end to see who's here. So, we'd love for you to share in the comments too as we go through a presentation. If you have questions, we will have a Q&A also. Perfect. So,
Right.
Betsy, I will bring up our presentation and go from here.
Okay. So it looks like we have 4 people
Awesome. Hi, Lacey.
on.
Oh, hi, Donna from Western New York. Okay, let me make sure this works. Let's go up there. Just one second.
From New Mexico. Hey, Karen. Western Mass. I think I lived in Western Mass when I was in middle school.
Okay, just one sec. Let's bring this up. Where are you going?
We're figuring out the technology.
We are. We're trying to get it to work. It worked before, so just one second. There we go.
All
Perfect.
right. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. So as people join, we would love to hear where you're joining us from. So we see Donna and Karen, Doug. So great to see you guys. And Betsy, I will have you kick off the call.
Yeah. Hi. Okay. And we're going to apologize ahead of time. So some of our slides, we just transferred them over and they look right when we're looking at them. And now they're a little askew. So apologies for that. So we are Innovative Pet Lab and we do advanced gut testing. So at this point, we're just looking at stool testing. So they're direct to consumer. So they're easy to get a sample. And here's our agenda. And so we're just going to introduce ourselves, go over a little bit about the company, why you would want to do this testing, how it can help, and then some case studies.
Perfect.
So I'll just introduce myself and then you can introduce yourself. So I'm Dr. Betsy Redmond. I'm a PhD. I have a PhD in nutrition and a master's in nutrition. And I started working at labs 20 years ago. I probably should get rid of the almost. And so I've been working in the human side for years, looking at more integrative kind of early markers and trying to see how those can be helpful. And so, and I'll go into how we got IPL started, but we're all mammals. So a lot of the testing that works in people is going to work in pets too.
Awesome. And I'm Dr. Katie Woodley, and I have additional training in functional medicine, integrative medicine, so acupuncture, Chinese herbal medicine, and nutrition. And I went to vet school at Massey University in New Zealand, originally from Colorado. But what I absolutely love is finding and healing root imbalances and looking at how and where things are off. So being able to use the right testing to identify what is off, so then we actually know how to treat it, which can make things much easier, especially when we are dealing with chronic skin issues, gut health problems, especially in rescue situations too. A lot of pets who have stress, and that can create GI upset. So these tests are really powerful and helpful, and we're going to give you some simple, easy tools to use and things that you can use, even like some fresh food options to help some rescue shelter pets get back to optimal health.
Yeah. All right, so this is Linda, and Linda was my personal family pet. She died when she was 18 years old, and we always say, that's when she went off to college. But Linda always had GI issues, and I worked in a human lab, and we did, more functional and integrative testing, and so I wanted to do that on her, and so I had other pet-loving coworkers. And we just decided to start a company doing the same type of things in dogs and cats. And what we found out early on was that up to 50+% of all vet visits are related to symptoms of gut health issues. So whether it's diarrhea or constipation or bloating, some that are direct kind of gut issues and some that are symptoms from that. So it was a pretty big market. So healing the gut, like people, 70% of the immune system is in the gut. Beep. So we decided we wanted to empower just pet people to do at-home testing. So a lot of the testing we do is very targeted. And so it'll tell you like this could be an issue, and they're easy things. So they're not necessarily diagnostic that your pet has this or has that condition, but they can tell you kind of more about functions that have gone awry. And then we have some things that are generally pretty easy to implement. I mean, we have people who may just use some toppers or fresh food for treats. People will go all the way to full raw. And we're not saying there's one diet that's right or one way to treat it that's right for every pet. So every kind of small change can make a difference. So I'm going to go through some of these, how our company works. So you get the test kit. So it's just a little box like this. It's not very big, just comes in the mail. And too far away when I did that. And so you're going to get it, and then you just take that off and you open it up. And on the top thing is to register it. So the first thing you do is register it, but all you have to do is to get a sample and stick it in here. I think number two, get a sample. So you send in the sample once you get it. And what we generally say is, it can spend some time just on regular temperature, room temperature, but not a lot. So if you're not going to send it the first day, just stick it in the freezer. It can kind of stay there indefinitely. I personally have a lot of these with dog poop in my own freezer. But you just, mail it in, and you just mail it right from your own mailbox. You don't have to go to UPS or FedEx or anything like that. And so then we're going to look at, some main areas: the inflammation, immune reaction. We look at reaction to gluten. We look at pancreatic function, kind of some markers that can give an idea of microbiome status, the gut lining, and then maybe impairments to detoxification. So just a few things on why we're different. So we are one of the only labs that's doing functional testing in pets. So we know it's already done in people. So we do it in pets. We try to make sure everything we do is based off of research. So we don't want to just say, oh, this looks like it works, or people say this works. We want to go in the literature and make sure we see somebody's been doing it before. Even if they haven't really set reference ranges, we can set reference ranges. So our test can help establish the specific impairment in the gut function. And then we give targeted treatments, and we give those treatments right in the test results. The results are going to guide you like all the options you can do. So we don't tell you you have to do this. We just say like, these are some diet changes. These are some supplement changes. These are some lifestyle changes. A lot of times just, changing lifestyle can make a big difference. So the results will guide you through that. And then, so our goal is to hopefully have pets live longer. Obviously, that's everybody's goal, but also just be healthier. So you don't want a pet that's constantly going in. I was saying before that I have a friend, and every time her dog gets diarrhea, she goes in and gets on metronidazole. So that's not even been proven to be a good idea in the research. Like probiotics tend to be more helpful, but our type of testing can kind of help identify where the issue might be. So,
I wanted to bring up something too, Betsy, that's really important with these tests. And a lot of my clients will use them this way as the health check for preventative care. So obviously, as a veterinarian, I work with a lot of sick patients, but too, like in the shelter setting, it's a great opportunity to be able to highlight if there's any imbalances in the gut too, even though that dog or even that cat look healthy outwardly. It's a nice option to, mention to the the person adopting them that, hey, there's some tests that you can do to identify if there's like certain simple, easy things to help them adjust to their new situation, their new home also. So I love using these tests also as a proactive preventative care approach too.
Yeah, and we do get we get people who spend a lot of money and time on their pets, and they want to know that, yeah, this is the right way to do it, but also just making sure a pet, under stress, um, has that. And for shelters, you can always resell the test. It is a way to make some money off that. So,
Mm.
um, I just got a shelter dog. I would, fostering. So if they'd offered it, I probably would have taken it. So we have, 6 basic tests. We have a comprehensive, and that's got all the markers in it. So it's got 6 markers. We have a comprehensive for dogs that have 6 markers. We have a comprehensive for cats too. It's not listed on here. And it's got 4 markers. But we also have, so we have a basic gut check. We have a digestion and detox, a leaky gut, inflammation, and immune. And then, the cat one is listed on there. So I'll just kind of go over each one of these. So the first one, the main one, is inflammation and immunity. And in that one, we're looking at calprotectant and secretory IgA. And I apologize, some of this writing may be a little small. I tried to make it bigger. But so essentially, calprotectant just identifies if there's inflammation within the intestine. Calprotectant actually can save money in a way because it's fecal calprotectant, the level has been correlated to doing scopes or taking biopsies. So they know really high calprotectin in the stool is associated with high inflammation in the gut. So sometimes it can help save a pet from getting a scope. So if you think a pet might have IBD and you do a fecal calprotectant, and it's really low, it's unlikely that they have IBD. So generally a pet with IBD is going to have a lot of inflammation, and specifically it's neutrophil inflammation. The other marker we look at is secretory IgA. So it's secretory IgA. Ig means immunoglobulin. So which is part of the immune system, and secretory is the part of the immune system that's right on the gut lining. And so it's the first line of defense, and it'll increase with parasites or pathogens or food reactions. So it can give you an idea of what's going on at the gut lining and how reactive it is. If it's really high, that, you might want to do some immune support, but that's what it's supposed to be. But sometimes when pets are reacting long-term to something, it can go really low. And there are some good targeted supplements that can be really helpful. Saccharomyces boulardii is probably one of those. That can be helpful. We have done some, talking to, I won't say consulting, talking to some of the zoos who have some pets who have been sick, some tigers or monkeys, and they want to figure out like what else could they look at if what they're doing isn't quite helping. So this is like inflammation and immunity. It's probably a good starting one. We have the basic gut check, which is calprotectant and zonulin. And those are probably the 2 ones to get started with if you want to do a single test and not the full comprehensive. So then the other one we have is leaky gut. So leaky gut is just another way of saying that the intestinal lining is increased permeability. So the intestinal cells are supposed to be lined up, and they have little tight junctions that hold them together. And when zonulin is really high, zonulin can pull those tight junctions apart. And then the cells, some might be tight together, but some might be loose. So it's kind of like, an uncontrolled border. And so the immune system can't regulate everything that's coming in. So if it's a high zonulin, there could be increased intestinal permeability. And that can be associated with allergies, skin conditions, kind of are big there. But there's a lot of good supplements too that can help with that. And then one of the other things that can increase zonulin is response to gluten. So we look at anti-gliadin. Gliadin is a component of gluten, like how much is somebody reacting. So those together can kind of give you an idea on just the gut lining and the intestinal permeability. And then the last one we looked at, though that one's really askew, is digestion and detox. So for digestion, we look at a marker called pancreatic elastase. And so the pancreas is the organ that secretes digestive enzymes. And it's one side. The other side the other part does insulin. But so digestive enzymes get secreted from the pancreas. There's amylase that breaks down carbohydrates. There's lipase that breaks down fat. And then there's elastase that breaks down protein. So elastase tends to be the most stable of those digestive enzymes in stool. So it can give an idea of overall pancreatic function. So a low pancreatic elastase can identify that there may be some impairment in pancreatic function and digestion may not be as good. So you can, get digestive enzymes. Sometimes it's decreasing stress can be helpful. And it's not going to be a marker of, more extreme diseases, but it is something that kind of shows up first. And then the other one we look at is like one of my more favorite analytes is beta-glucuronidase. So beta-glucuronidase is also an enzyme, and people make it, and it's also made by bacteria within the gut. And so if beta-glucuronidase is really high, it's likely partly due to an imbalance in gut bacteria, because normally, like a dog or a cat or us, we wouldn't make that much. We don't need that much of that enzyme. But if it's really high, it's likely from gut bacteria. And so that may identify that there's an imbalance in that gut bacteria. The problem with an elevated beta-glucuronidase, beyond the fact that it can tell you that there's a lot of gut bacteria, is that it can interfere with detoxification. So sometimes the detoxification processes, like when the body's trying to get rid of hormones or toxins, gets impaired. And then those levels of toxins or hormones can increase. So knowing that that's high, then you can do certain supplements, you can work on gut bacteria, and some of those can just be, getting different types of foods or toppers or snacks. Okay. And so this is a comprehensive review. So it looks at each of these markers. And so it has all 6 of the markers. So it looks at anti-gliadin, and you can see in this order of it, it's anti-gliadin, it's low. So this pet didn't have a reaction. The beta-glucuronidase is in the pink, so it's borderline. So it's up a little bit. So there may be a little bit imbalance there. The calprotectant is up a little bit. So that may identify that there's a little bit of inflammation. So if beta-glucuronidase is identifying that maybe there's a little bit of imbalance in their gut bacteria, it's not totally surprising that there's a little bit of inflammation. The pancreatic elastase is good. So there's good pancreatic function. And if the pancreas is secreting digestive enzymes, that's just saying like things are getting digested and absorbed. So I'm less concerned with any kind of nutrient issue. And then secretory IgA. So that's the first line of defense at the gut lining. And that, is elevated. So it's identifying, it's reacting to something that could be an impairment in gut bacteria, a pathogen, a parasite, or it could be, a food reaction, although the gluten is fine. And then the zonulin. So the zonulin is up pretty high. So there is some leaky gut issue. So when you're looking at the, immune reaction of secretory IgA as the first line, and then there's a leaky gut, and there's some impairment in gut bacteria, I think so there's a lot of things going on, but a lot of times you're not going to have to do 8 different things, like changing maybe their food, giving them some support can be helpful. So then the next one. So we're going to go over a few case studies. So this is a dog of mine, Rudy, and this is his test. So Rudy lived in the city. He, he'd go on walks in the city, and he would eat things that he wasn't supposed to. But, so he had a few things, and he had some, on and off diarrhea, enough that it was a problem. And besides, when pets have diarrhea, besides just the fact that they, have diarrhea, they can become dehydrated. They can, not absorb all the nutrients. So he had an increased anti-gliadin. So he had, a dog food that had a lot of gluten or wheat. Gluten comes from wheat, barley, rye. He had some secretory IgA and some zonulin, but it hadn't gone all the way to having increased inflammation. So he had some reaction to that. So zonulin is, often from a gluten reaction. So getting rid of the gluten can be helpful. The secretory IgA, so they did certain things just to kind of help with support that. Saccharomyces boulardii is a supplement that can help. They have it for people or pets. It's just a good yeast that kind of can help support secretory IgA. He also got some slippery elm and some other things that can help the gut lining. But it's really the getting off the gluten and the Saccharomyces boulardii that probably is the most beneficial to him. And then on his follow-up test, he did well. So kind of just looking at those things that can bother him. He did change dog foods, and that made a difference for him. So
perfect. So I just want to check in with everyone here. Let us know if you're finding this helpful, if you've even heard of innovative pet lab tests or used them. We'd love to hear that too. So drop that in the comments. Also, we know this is a lot of information. It might be new information you're hearing about. So we are going to do a Q&A also. So if there's any questions that you have in regards to the testing, when you would use them, feel free to drop those in the comments because we'll make sure that we address those at the end. So with that all being said, I wanted to share a couple of my patients that have done this testing, and it's really helped improve the results that we've gotten with them. So Gigi, she's a 3.5-year-old miniature poodle, and at 3 months old, she started developing ear infections. And then at a year old, she got really itchy. And she went to her regular veterinarian and received some medications to kind of help calm that down, but it didn't work. And there's some other tests that are on the market that can show specific imbalances in the different types of microbes in the gut. So her mom did all the things and we saw some issues there, but I started working with her just after those tests. And with a lot of my patients, we're always looking at, okay, fresh food, minimizing kind of processed diets. We use some enzymes to help break down that food, fish oil to help provide some good omega-3s and support getting those toxins out, because that can create a lot of the itchiness and skin problems that we might be seeing. Now, we did a comprehensive test, and this is her test here. So what we saw was that pretty much everything was normal except for her secretory IgA was elevated. So going back, looking at that, my concern is, okay, what's creating that? What's causing that local gut immune system to be responding to something? So as Dr. Redmond mentioned, that there could be a food sensitivity. Now, she's not reacting to gluten. She's on a gluten-free diet and she's not getting any gluten, but there's still something. So parasites, but also to what's going on there. So essentially what we did for her is we did end up putting her on some Saccharomyces boulardii. And then I also used an herbal product from Standard Process that supported her immune system and started her with, we switched over to an algae oil because some pets will react to white fish, which is common in a lot of these omega-3 products. So we put her on that. That was in November. We retested and she's now low, which was really interesting. So now we're potentially looking at, okay, well, we brought things down, we lowered her reactivity, but it's giving us more information of, okay, well, her itchiness has improved, she's feeling better, and she had also come off of her supplements in January. So all this information is really helpful. So when we then looked at, okay, her itchiness is resolved, she's feeling really good, you'd have no idea anything is going on, but now her immune system just kind of needs a little bit extra support. So this is where we pretty much use some medicinal mushrooms. And this is where even just lightly cooking button mushrooms and using them as a superfood topper would be really beneficial. Colostrum's really easy to give too. And then also too, Gigi gets stressed really easily. So making sure that we're supporting that environment, giving her lots of attention and exercise and all those things and routine. So simple, easy changes like that really made a difference for Gigi. Now, I wanted to talk about a kitty named Boris. So Boris is a 14-year-old European short hair who's super handsome. I'm kind of biased. I have 3 black kitties. But Boris came to me. He had chronic gut health issues. He had IBD, choroiditis, pancreatitis, constipation, vomiting. He had his gallbladder removed, and he also had kidney disease. He wanted to try on every condition and see how he would do. So his pet parents were really busy with him. And so when I saw him, this was 2 years after all these things were happening with him. And he was already on a more minimally processed diet, but we had some issues with his microbiome. And so we really wanted to look a little bit deeper. And that's what's great about the innovative pet lab tests. It's a stool test. The owners could just send it in the mail. With kitties, stress is a big thing, especially like in shelters too. A lot of these cats suppress it, or they hide, or we see vomiting, diarrhea that can result, even constipation. And so what was interesting is we put him on certain products to support his digestion. So using things like B12 vitamins to help, adding a little bit of fiber to help him, using supplements that contain slippery elm, and then making sure that we were supporting the microbiome with Visbiome and Saccharomyces boulardii. So his mom wanted to make sure the things we were doing were working because he had been through so many health issues previously before we were working together. So we did an immunity and inflammation panel for him. And what we saw was great because this kitty had diagnosed inflammatory bowel disease. His calprotectin, which is the biomarker to show us that level of inflammation in the gut lining, was normal. And then his secretory IgA was also normal. So his immune system wasn't overreacting or underreacting to what was going on or what we were giving him. And it was working the way we wanted it to. So it gave his mom a lot of peace of mind that the supplements, the foods, he was feeling better. He had good energy, was really working. So that's another great way that I use these tools is if we are using supplements, a lot of times we don't have to use them all the time or forever, because I know a lot of pet parents kind of get trapped with that. So if you do use supplements or you start a pet on supplements, or we make a recommendation, or we're adopting out a dog that, is having loose stool or kind of has a sensitive stomach or is stressed, they can do this test. They can get recommendations right away, some super easy things that they can use that we've discussed. And then they can always retest because we don't necessarily need to continue all of those things. So I just wanted to share that as an example. And then the last case is Jet. So he's a 2-year-old handsome black lab. I think I'm seeing a trend here. I picked the black animal. But they never get rescued. Like my 3 cats are all black and they're all rescues, right? So I think I am naturally drawn to just helping them. So he came to me. He had a lot of itchiness. He also had separation anxiety. Otherwise, he was doing good at home. Once again, his gut health was off. We did some other testing too, and helped support that with some gut restore fecal transplant capsules. His symptoms resolved, but mom, being an awesome proactive pet parent, she wanted to make sure that there wasn't anything hidden or brewing underneath, right? Because a lot of times pets might look fine, and this happens with humans too, but there could be inflammation. There could be some reactions. Maybe the immune system isn't working as well as we want it to. And then all of a sudden that next stress response or stressor then brings those symptoms to the surface. And all of a sudden it's like, wow, where did that come from? So these tests are really helpful at identifying that. So we ran a comprehensive test for him, and bless you. And what we saw was everything was pretty normal with Chet. However, his secretory IgA was borderline. So remember, this is looking at that local immune system. So, okay, why are we kind of getting a little bit like imbalanced is what I'd be looking at. The zonulin, we don't have leaky gut, pancreatic elastase. His pancreas seems to be producing the enzymes, which is great. Calprotectin, inflammation is normal. Beta glucuronidase is normal, which is good because we had checked his microbiome before. And then the anti-gliadin. So he's not reacting to gluten, which is good. So essentially for him to help calm down that immune system, once again, super simple, easy things like fresh foods that can be really helpful. I love mushrooms, using medicinal mushrooms. Chaga is a great medicinal mushroom that supports the gut. Also, reishi is very beneficial for the immune system, but super simple things like even just button mushrooms and lightly cooking them and eating some yourself and then putting some on your dog's food or your cat. So cook them in a little bit of ghee butter. Cats love that flavor and taste. And then adding a little bit of colostrum, raw goat's milk can be very beneficial for the microbiome. And then also, too, remember he had a lot of separation anxiety. So stress management is really, really important too. So he's super active, mom's super active. So making sure that he's getting that energy out. And then I recommended retesting in 6 months or sooner if those symptoms flared up or returned. So that was really, really helpful. It gave peace of mind too for all three of those pet parents to better understand and identify where things might be off. Okay.
Yes. So we do have a discount, 15%. You just use Wolf 15 and you can get 15% off if you want to try the testing. So
perfect. And if anyone has any questions, I know it can be hard sometimes.
it's a lot of
It's a lot
information.
of information. So if you have a question on how would I use this, or if my pet's experiencing this, or especially in a shelter situation, being able to help people see that, if a pet is stressed or if something's going on, being able to offer them solutions to be able to find kind of where things are off or at. And then having those tools and resources through Innovative Pet Lab to be able to provide like fresh food options, easy, simple supplements, even things like routine, as I'm sure everyone here who works in a shelter or in rescue understands the importance of, right, to help them and support them through that. Using things like, chamomile tea is really, really helpful in a lot of my patients for that stress process too, and that supports the gut. So there's a lot of simple, easy things that we can do with that information. And I found as a veterinarian, my clients really love knowing that if they are going to add in any supplements or change the diet or do those things, they have a lot more peace of mind knowing where things might be off, or even having that peace of mind that my pet is healthy. The things I'm doing are working and I can continue with this too. So if you have a question or even a comment, did anyone find this helpful? I'd love to hear if this was helpful and what you found most interesting, maybe something that you learned tonight. If you want to be brave and put it in the comments, we love hearing from you guys to see what was helpful and something that you learned tonight, because I know as a veterinarian, a lot of these biomarkers were new to me. They're not commonly talked about, and Innovative Pet Lab has kind of taken that next step to really help support our dogs and our cats with the functional medicine testing.
Okay. I mean, or if you have questions about your pets.
Yeah. I mean, you got both of us here. So if you have something with your pet and how to use those tests too, I'm sure there's other people that probably have similar questions.
Oh, there goes your black cat.
Yep.
That's right. I have a drinking game. Kidney function. We don't directly look at kidney function. It's a lot of information to digest. I will say we have an interpretive guide online or a sample report. Those can be helpful. And, especially for shelter pets. And I know shelters have a tight budget. It's not like you have a lot of fancy testing. Sometimes this could be helpful for certain pets. You just can't figure out what's going on, or you could make it available to people who might want to. I mean, obviously, most people, if they're going to come get a shelter pet, they may not, I have all shelter pets. I'm fostering one now. And I certainly, if I didn't work here, would have got that. So you can also, sell as a wholesaler and make some money there. Is there a link to order? No, you can just go to the website and use that code. You want to flip back Wolf
Yeah,
Track.
let me go back to your code for the Wolf Tracks 15.
Yeah, Wolf Tracks. Yeah, I could say it with an L. It's Wolf Tracks 15. And just use that when you go to sign in. You can just put the code in there.
Okay. And it's your regular website, innovativepetlab.com,
Yes.
correct? Okay. I'm going to drop that in there for everyone. So you have that to check out. I wanted to also mention Karen's comment about the markers about kidney function. Now, obviously, this test is not specific to the kidneys and kidney function. There's, blood tests that are going to be more specific for that. However, there is a lot of research around the kidney gut connection. And so this is where working with a lot of cats that have kidney disease, a lot of times there can be things off in the gut health that are potentially aggravating or creating other harder issues to treat with the kidneys. So everything's interconnected. And sometimes what happens is we start treating systems separately. And so if you're able to test the gut, even though we technically have a kidney problem, kidneys are detoxing. And when we have kidney problems, detoxification can be off, toxins can build up, it can create imbalances elsewhere too. So it's not necessarily a bad thing and can be very helpful with making sure we're not missing something that's creating resistance to that pet feeling their best. So there's definitely check those out and look into that. And I love it with my cat patients and with my own cats because I don't have to take them into the vet to collect a stool sample. It can be done at home and we're not stressing them out also.
Right. And you can test even if it has some cat litter on it. If you have that, that's okay for the testing. We can get around that. We've tested it with lots of different litters.
Perfect. Awesome. Any other questions about your own pets? If you're seeing animals that they're stressed out, gut problems, anything like that. Itchy skin can be a gut problem too, ear infections, licking the paws, those are gut health problems because of the gut skin connection. So keep that in mind, that a lot of times that reason for those symptoms is missed and it keeps us stuck. We're trying all those drugs and nothing's working. We're spending money on prescription diets. And this is where this can be helpful to not diagnose, but figure out where things are a little bit off to help guide supplements and support there too. All right. Any final question? It's going like last time, going once, going twice. I appreciate everyone for showing up and learning something. I know there's a lot of information here. It can feel overwhelming, but Innovative Pet Lab has a lot of great resources, research studies, information at their website too that you can check out to keep learning more about these different biomarkers.
Yes, and our information is better quality than this slide deck came up on, because it doesn't look like that in the other one. But yeah, so everybody, thank you. And if you have any other questions, you can always email us at Innovative Pet Lab. If you go to the website, you can contact us and ask questions there.
Perfect. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah,
Have a good
thanks
evening.
for joining. Okay, bye.